Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. We have a big show for everybody today. What do we have, Krystal?
Yeah, the entire show, as you guys will not be surprised to learn, is going to be focused on Iran. We've got a million updates for you this morning, including 3 fighter jets being shot out of the sky in what is being claimed as a friendly fire incident. President Trump saying there are going to be more dead Americans. We're taking a look at the markets this morning as they open. Also already blowback here in the U.S. and abroad against our illegal aggressive war against Iran. We've got some polling indications that the American people are, unsurprisingly, not behind this whatsoever. And then we have 2 major, gigantic guests. We're so fortunate to get to talk to Professor Jeffrey Sachs this morning and also Professor Zhang, his first appearance on the show. He made, back in, I think, May of 2024, 3 bold predictions. 1, Trump was going to win. 2, that he would go to war with Iran. And 3, that the U.S. would lose that war. So we're going to check in with him about how he thinks that prediction is panning out, if anything has surprised him in the buildup in the early phases of this war. So it's going to be a huge one today.
Yeah, that's right. All right, let's go ahead and get to the latest updates out of Iran.
All right, guys, we're going to start this morning with shocking images. Let's put this up on the screen. This is a U.S. fighter jet after being hit, allegedly by friendly fire by our Kuwaiti allies, falling out of the sky. And this is reportedly one of 3 fighter jets that CENTCOM is saying hit by friendly fire. The Iranians are saying that they are claiming responsibility for at least one of these jets, but our government is claiming this was friendly fire from the Kuwaitis. 3 U.S. fighter jets being shot out of the sky. Now, as far as we know, all of the service members on board those fighter jets, all of those pilots are safe. There are some crazy videos out there, too, of them being recovered. In one of them, the Kuwaitis who find one of the pilots says, let's call an ambulance. The other one says, he's American, let's just leave him. Give a sense of the way that people in the region outside of leadership feel about American service members and about this operation overall. But Saagar, I mean, before I even get into any of the other elements, and we have a whole slew of them, just your reaction to this.
This is a humiliation on the world stage. This is equivalent to what happened whenever those fighter jets were lost on the carriers in the middle of high seas. And this is what we've been warning about here for weeks, is about military readiness, lack of coordination with allies. You have drones, by CENTCOM's own admission in this alleged friendly fire incident. And by the way, they call it apparent friendly fire, so obviously the facts are still not 100% known, is you had Iranian aircraft, Iranian missiles, and Iranian drones all in the sky at the same time. Each one of these aircraft has a pilot, a weapon systems officer. That's why there's 6 crew that have been ejected, and they're at least safe for now, thank God. But these are $100 million aircraft per piece. So the $300 million just got evaporated in the sky. The scale of what is happening here is unbelievable. We're talking about potentially tens of billions already in munitions, in aircraft, and other assets, which are already lost and have been used in this operations. But perhaps more importantly is you don't want to have these emperor have no clothes moments, because you're looking at the seat of the global empire. And look, we're going to show you plenty of stuff. We are capable of vaporizing a lot of things, but in long sustained kinetic operations, as we're already watching, we have 4 Americans dead as of this morning. 4 Americans are already dead. The president and the top general keep saying, more to come, more to come. Maybe there have been more and they're not even telling us that.
The president actually indicated in an interview with the New York Times that there likely are already more dead. And in I can't even call this really a speech, but a hastily edited statement that Trump gave yesterday, he spoke about how there will likely be more dead Americans out of this war. Let's go ahead and take a listen to that.
Earlier today, CENTCOM shared the news that 3 U.S. military service members have been killed in action. As one nation, we grieve for the true American patriots who have made the ultimate sacrifice for our nation, even as we continue the righteous mission for which they gave their lives. We pray for the full recovery of the wounded and send our immense love and eternal gratitude to the families of the fallen. And sadly, there will likely be more. Before it ends, that's the way it is. Likely be more, but we'll do everything possible where that won't be the case. But America will avenge their deaths and deliver the most punishing blow to the terrorists who have waged war against basically civilization They have waged war against civilization itself.
Interesting he doesn't. Yeah, interesting he doesn't send his own military-age son into this supposedly worthy cause. And we can put A2 up on the screen. This is the quote I was referencing to the New York Times. I'll read this whole thing. Mr. Trump spoke from Mar-a-Lago about 36 hours into the conflict, soon after he received news of American casualties, saying he could only speak briefly because he was about to meet with the generals. He acknowledged that his administration expected more casualties based on projections. 3 is 3 too many, as far as I'm concerned. And of course, as Saagar said, it's now up to 4. One of the wounded service members succumbed to their injuries. He goes on to say, if you look at projections, they do projections, it could be quite a bit higher than that. We expect casualties. But he professed confidence Iran would, in the end, bend to America's and Israel's will. The country has been very substantially weakened, to put it mildly. In other comments that he gave recently, Saagar, he also was asked, okay, you want the regime, you're going for the regime change. How is this going to work? He offered a number of different theories, including one of them being that the IRGC, the Revolutionary Guard Corps, would just surrender their weapons to the population. They would just hand over their weapons and give it up.
Look, I mean, it's not time for a victory lap, but it's true. If you've been watching the show, what have we been saying? They're on a sugar high from Venezuela and from Midnight Hammer. They really believed that it would be the same. They didn't want to believe any of the people from the top general, Dan Kane, to many of the other advisors who said this one is very different. If you want to know how fucked we are, let's put A3 up here. Jonathan Karl at ABC News talked to the president last night, and he was asked about possible candidates to take over Iran. They were killed in the initial attack. Quote, the attack was so successful, it knocked out most of the candidates. It's not going to be anybody that what we are thinking of because they're all dead. Second or third place is dead. He is enamored at the strength of the U.S. bomb, or actually even in this case, it's the Israeli bombs that were able to take out these leaders. But this fantasy idea of the IRGC just handing over their weapons to the people, yeah, I'm sure that's going to happen. The very same people that just killed a bunch of the protesters who rose up against them. I mean, this is an incitement to civil war. Already, there are massive reports coming out of Iran of attacks on border stations. You know, why do you think that you want to do this? Is the Syria model. You eliminate the border and you flood it in with a bunch of friendly, aka CIA-backed assets. Does anyone who want to tell me who the great enemies of the Shia people are? Al-Qaeda. I mean, we've got an Al-Qaeda leader sitting on the throne in Syria, right over there. Just think, this is going to be Libya on steroids if the Israelis and I guess these Americans now get their way. We're screwed. They had no plan. They really believed some sort of Delcy Rodriguez thing was going to happen. And another way where you can see the lack of coordination, look at the Gulf. These guys have been caught completely flat-footed. The Kuwaitis are throwing things up. This is not a sophisticated military. You have Doha. I mean, I used to live in Doha. I am watching places where I know with ballistic missiles falling out of the sky. Some of these hotels, you and I have been to these hotels. Yeah. Can you imagine Dubai Airport? I've slept in that airport a million times.
Closed down.
Yeah, it's gone.
It is hard to, I mean, the Dubai piece is wild.
It's crazy.
And because the whole brand proposition of Dubai is like, oh, we're sort of exempt from any instability from the region. We're like exempt from that because this is where the global elite keep their money, right? This is where you can go and buy these palatial, multi-million-dollar luxury properties. This is where you can go on your, your exclusive vacation and, with the beautiful beaches and the manufactured, super high-end luxury hotels and all of this, the tallest building in the world, et cetera, et cetera. Now you've had some of those hotels hit. You've had them struck. You have all these videos coming out of people who are shocked. And there are tons of Americans there, by the way, but people from all around the world, the global elite all around the world. This is a manufactured playground for the rich that is now taking hits by Iran. The damage this will cause long term to their whole sort of value proposition there, you can't even wrap your head around. Then we're going to get to the market fallout. You had Saudi Aramco, you had some of their assets hit. You have Qatar completely shutting down their LNG production. Already massive impacts. The Strait of Hormuz is de facto closed because the insurers won't insure the cargo ships that are going through there because the Iranians have attacked a few ships that are there in the region. And so the insurers say, no, you can't travel through there. So they're that's all it took. That's de facto closed now. Something that Saagar, I mean, we've been hearing about threats and how dire that would be because 20% to 25% of the world's oil passes through there. So, and it happens to be the, the oil that's most influential in terms of setting the price for the market. So it's an extraordinary disruption. You could sort of, I think, equate it perhaps to the level of disruption we saw in the early phases of the Ukraine war in particular.
Yes.
That's at least where we are already. And we are mere days into this war. So you have U.S. fighter jets either being shot out of the sky by Iranians or by our own allies. You have damage to our allies throughout the region. We're going to ask Professor Sachs later on about this clip of a Saudi analyst saying the Americans abandon us and only care about protecting the Israelis. You have already dire warnings and concerns about the number of interceptors that we have remaining. The Iranians, which, look, they're taking a lot of damage. I mean, they've had hundreds of people killed, huge damage in Tehran and other places in the country. These horrifying images, obviously, of these schoolgirls, the hospitals that are being hit, etc. But they also seem to have learned from the 12-day war. And their strategy is we're going to send out all of these drones, which it's the similar drones to what the Houthis were using. By the way, the Houthis have joined the fight. Hezbollah has joined the fight. These $20,000 to $30,000 drones that they can produce, mass produce, and just send out. And you exhaust the stockpile of interceptors of both the Israelis and the Americans. And then later on, you hold your bigger stuff for later on. Now, that's a risk for them because it's possible that their ability to launch those missiles gets destroyed. That's certainly the goal of the U.S. and the Israelis. But, it's not a crazy bet that they're making right now. And they know that we have much less stomach for and capacity to take damage than they do because for them, it's existential. For us, we don't even want to be doing this shit.
Right, yeah, we're already 4 more lives than this entire thing was worth. And all the people at the top are telling us are that there are going to be more. Why don't we show some of the video just so you guys can see? It's not just us talking. This is a region which is on fire. I mean, nobody has seen scenes like this literally ever. I mean, even at the height of the Iraq war, it was in the middle of Iraq. This is West Jerusalem last night. I mean, look at that. Can you imagine living in the middle of downtown and watching a missile? Densely populated. I've been to West Jerusalem. That is crazy. Look at this. This is in Kuwait. You can see an American soldier, American service member filming this. Do you hear what he says? They're starting to dial in our buildings. That was a suicide drone. This is from the Straits of Hormuz. This was Skylight, I believe, is the name of the ship which was attacked. There's already been 1 confirmed death in an attack on a ship which was off the coast of Oman. This is Tehran. I mean, this is unbelievable. There were even video coming out late last night, our time, where you could see that the bombs were so light, they were lighting up the mountains behind them. Who knows how many thousands of people are being killed there right now. This is in Israel, in Bet Shemesh. I talked about this in my update, which we mentioned, in the middle of Dubai, probably one of the most iconic hotels in the world. Mm-hmm. Here we have in the middle of Beirut, you have destruction everywhere. Hezbollah has launched attacks into the middle of Israel, not to mention the F-15s that we just talked about that went down. That happened just, middle of the night, our time, in the middle of, what was that? In the middle of Bahrain.
That was in Kuwait.
Sorry, in Kuwait. You have crazy situations playing out in Bahrain. A lot of people may not remember this. Bahrain has a very significant Shia population, but they're ruled by a Sunni kingdom, right? Well, guess what? Every single time the Iranian drones are making impact in Bahrain, the local Shia are cheering. This is some Arab Spring stuff, which, by the way, the United States actually intervened on their behalf to actually make sure that they could quash the Shia opposition inside of that country. This is tens of thousands of Americans who are housed there. This is a full-blown regional conflict. The price of oil, the price of gas, everything is being affected. I mean, the number of people who are dead now has got to be probably in the thousands, considering the number of casualties which is happening. The vast majority of these are going to be in Tehran. As you said, I mean, look, these are Gaza-level images. We're talking about hospitals and schools and all this which are getting struck. And I'm not going to let the Iranians off the hook either. They hit one of the biggest hospitals, and it was a Palestinian hospital in West Jerusalem. But this is war. This is the totality of all of it. And how do you pull back from here? The off-ramp that Trump, I think, really believed that he could do Midnight Hammer again. He's like, I'll bomb them and then they'll capitulate and negotiate. But he didn't understand, which we did, so it's not like he didn't have this same information. No, Because at a certain point, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Well, you could see all of this playing out right now. For them, they're like, I'm not going to be bombed. You're going to kill the Ayatollah, and then I'm going to come back to the negotiating table with you. Also, the people with the monopoly on the use of force, the IRGC, they are the people most loyal to the Ayatollah. They are the, what do they tell us? Oh, they're psychopaths, they're criminals. Yeah, they hate us, okay? You think that they're going to be the ones who have all of this control over the military, and they're just going to turn around and they're going to say, oh, here you go, Mr. No, okay, they'll fight to the death.
Yeah.
They have tens of thousands of these people. The whole thing, this is a disaster.
Yeah.
Even if it ends today, it's a disaster.
It's already an utter, shameful, destructive, chaotic catastrophe. I was telling you before, Saagar, it's hard for me to think of a more reckless action taken by any country, not just our country, but taken by any country in modern history. I mean, in terms of level of recklessness, it exceeds Iraq. I mean, the lies that we don't know what the objective is. We don't know what the goals are. We don't know what the strategy is. Our allies are not with us. They didn't even bother to manufacture consent. It's complete and utter insanity. And I think you have to chalk it up to, Trump being high on his own supply with Venezuela, being a complete fucking idiot. And also, I mean, you have to look at the Epstein files and go, I don't know, maybe that is part of what's driving the calculus here, because the whole thing seems so incredibly insane. And now you've got effectively, so the Iranians have engaged, what they call their mosaic strategy. So these IRGC commanders are relatively empowered to make their own decisions. So even if you keep taking out Iranian leaders, they are still empowered to keep going. That makes it very difficult to see an immediate term regime collapse. Not to mention, look, I'm not saying that the current government in Iran is super popular. I don't think anyone knows what the popularity is, but they do have a base of support. Yeah. I mean, there were people who came out who were mourning the assassination of the Ayatollah, who were deeply upset, and it will predictably have an impact of a rally around the flag effect and stoking Iranian nationalism within the country. So, I think what has happened here is Trump thought that their initial salvos would be devastating enough that the regime would either topple or they would be on such thin ice or such shaky ground that they would feel they had to come back to the negotiating table. And that has not happened. That is a fundamental miscalculation that, if you were listening to Trita Parsi, if you're listening to us, if you were listening to Jeffrey Sachs, if you're listening to Professor Mearsheimer, you would have known that is not what is going to happen here.
Hey, if you like that video, hit the like button or leave a comment below. It really helps get the show to more people.
And if you'd like to get the full show ad-free and in your inbox every morning, you can sign up at breakingpoints.com.
That's right. Get the full show, help support the future of independent media at breakingpoints.com.